Welcome everybody, I'm DarkHour717 and this is the weekly news update for the week ending in the 23rd of April, where I'm going to bring you the latest news update for all that's happened in the past week in the Star Citizen universe. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and help me hit the 5,000 subscriber mark. If we can just get a fraction of the 88% of viewers that aren't subscribed to hit that button, we can definitely reach it in no time, and I really appreciate it and thank everybody that's already subscribed. So this week we do see a somewhat slower week again, as there was no Inside Star Citizen and no Star Citizen Live due to Jared is finally moving over to the UK. And of course it is also an off week for the roadmap roundup. So we only really had a couple of other updates. But we did see a bit happening on the PTU as well as a Gen 12 update that was released, which we'll go over. But to start, on Monday we did see the typical This Week in Star Citizen, and Tuesday we got our usual lore update. And this week it was the Untold Tales, Prophet of Pyro. Untold Tales are stories that come from different areas of the verse and hold a supernatural or unexplained nature to them, and can't quite be understood as to the cause of the phenomena. As they delve into trying to figure out and discover the causes for such odd things that are occurring, this one is the Prophet of Pyro, and it definitely fits into this category as it goes into the history of a mysterious voice that is said to predict or foretell the future and upcoming course of events. It starts with the first instances of reports of the mysterious voice by pyrotechnic amalgamated miners who were working in the area of Pyro 2 back in 2548, and while working in a deep mine. These reports are saying that voices were instructing them to leave or be crushed. In the search for the cause of the voice, one miner did fall and lose his life, but all attempts to look into the source or see if it could be caused by a technical malfunction turned up with nothing being the cause for miners hearing the phantom word. Eventually, it was written off as an auditory hallucination caused by natural events. This story picks up where Klana Richards, who's a researcher looking into these anomalies for Untold Tales, goes through the beginnings as well as the subsequent run-ins with the voice. Even the fact that some miners requested transfers due to belief the voice was predicting an impending collapse. Though no collapse ever occurred, there is enough evidence and reports that something was going on. Eventually, it was believed the voice was predicting the fall of Pyrotechnic Amalgamated as it crumbled and went bankrupt in 2563. By the 27th century, the Prophet of Pyro and tales of its existence had skyrocketed, but yet no source could be determined. And in the early 27th century, Tufo Fitzhugh from a small outlaw band called the Abyss made claims as to hearing the prophet, having been drawn in by the voice and claimed to receive a message stating Ruler of Ruin, interpreting this to mean the Abyss were destined to take over the Ruin Station in the Pyro system. And this had long been under the control of the Youtbe gang. The story continues to tell the events that led to the Abyss gaining control of Ruin Station, as well as the events leading to the fall of the Abyss's control of Ruin, turning the station into a virtual wasteland as many gangs fought for control of it. Finally, the story closes out with a theory from Klana Richards as to what may likely be the cause of these mysterious voices and why one source could not be pinned down as the origin of them, with theories revolving around and scientifically backed to show the possibility of solar flares as the cause. We finish the tale out with Klana Richards planning an excursion to the area to test the theory. As always with the lore posts, they do a great job building the history of the phenomena, and I really enjoyed the supernatural aspect to the tale. As many do in today's world, having this built into the lore with unexplained occurrences and mysteries that exist in the verse really expands the feel of the Star Citizen universe. As we all know, in the real world, whether it be ghosts, monsters, or just strange occurrences, we all have heard tales of the supernatural or unbelievable things that exist out there. Remember, even in our own history, it was once believed that the platypus was an unfathomable demon or monster that was made up in someone's imagination and could never truly exist. Overall, it was a great and interesting story and definite good read. After that, though, our normal sources for new information were in short supply this week. What we did see, though, was an update on the Gen 12 progress and its involvement with patch 317. I will admit I did originally miss this update, and thanks to the video by Board Gamer, I caught it. And I will have a link to his video in the description as well as a link to the update post itself. I definitely recommend checking both those links out. They have a lot of great information. What the update tells us, though, is that Gen 12 has some applications within patch 317. This will be in regards to the opaque static geometry, or other words, items scattered on planets and asteroids. These will all be running through the Gen 12 system, and that will now more than double the render thread performance. The post does state though, as this is progress, it does not mean anything in regards to FPS. Internal measurements do show that they are rarely CPU bound by the render thread. And this means faster render thread does not change overall frame rate in most cases, and that you actually have to look at your individual CPU, GPU setup on your system. But they do state that the difference is that no longer being limited by the render thread, the performance of the main thread will be directly noticeable within your FPS as long as you are not GPU bound. And they point out all the reports of the improved FPS being in the PTU currently, as this is again implemented in this patch. These improvements are credited to Christopher Bolt for doing major improvements in the entity-centric system, zone host updates, and more improvements with the main thread performance. Some other points they made in regard to Gen 12 update is stating that internally all render proxies such as ships, characters, and planets are already going through the Gen 12 pipeline, and though not ready for patch 3.17, it will be ready for the next big patch. Now this I really take with a grain of salt, and you have to remember the next big patch is a very vague term. This does not mean 3.18 or possibly even 3.19. It is very open-ended, and CIG obviously is not going to commit to any date or timeline. They are saying though that ships are heavy on the render thread, and things like large population ship meetups could see benefits, and are asking for testing and reporting of what we experience. So get those ship shows going out on Daymar or another planet of your choice, and feel free to report back to them through the thread what you're experiencing. Also, they stated that they'll be turning on Gen 12 for cube maps and more, which will allow them to get rid of a large amount of legacy code, though some items will still need to be ported, such as planet atmosphere passes, GPU skinning, and gas cloud rendering, but these will all be started soon. And work on transparent geometry has already been started, which is the last big milestone needing to be completed, which they did point out that all of this will lead, of course, to Welcoem. They do point out that due to the mixed rendering of Gen 12 and Legacy, the engine right now does have to go through both rendering codes, which will decrease the main thread performance slightly, but once the transparent geometry is completed, they will no longer need to do this, and the performance should increase to its full potential. This is all great news as we continue to push toward more advanced development. Getting these updates shows the steps that they are taking in order to improve Star Citizen Universe and deliver an even more amazing game. As we've tested the PTU, there has definitely been a performance increase witnessed in some areas, especially with the FPS. But this really brings us to the patch 3.17 itself. As we all know, the PTU patch has been out for some time and has been open to all backers for a couple weeks now. And while the patch began on extremely shaky grounds, we did get improvements bringing it to a more playable state. Over the last couple weeks, we've seen several updates to the PTU, and a number of issues occur as well as being resolved. In the latest patch notes released Friday night for patch Whiskey, we see continued improvement with another client crash and 3 server crashes being resolved, but also are seeing a shorter list of known issues, many continuing over from previous patch notes. This actually includes ships exploding on exit, ship retrieval can time out, leaving a ship in an acclaimed state, AR markers hard to read when opening your mobi-glass, but some unlisted ones that we continue to experience, of course, is ongoing inventory issues with changing or removing items, infinite load screens, a large amount of player desync still, and more frequent 30Ks. Though these are possibly just regular issues that we see even today on live universe, I would say they're not overwhelmingly concerning. But we do continue to see more patches push the PTU over the last week as they try to get the patch into a state ready for launch to live. This, of course, is making many questions as to when will we see the patch go live. While obviously everyone is anxious to see the game progress, I would say the fact that they're taking their time to continue testing and troubleshooting is a better course to take than push the patch to live because backers are getting anxious. 3.17 and the changes it brings are exciting, with a number of quality of life improvements and a number of gameplay improvements. So when will we see it go live? And that's really the big question, obviously. We did see, though, that Friday the weekly update email came out from CIG, implying that we're getting closer, stating that thanks to the hard work of the community, the release of 3.17 is approaching. So I'm guessing that we're going to see it in the early part of this coming week, or could possibly even be by the end of the weekend. It is a sign that they believe they're reaching a point in which it will be releasable, and I will admit that there are many backers out there that do question if it is where it needs to be, but only time will tell, and we'll need to wait and see. I think in the current state of the PTU, there are definitely some things that are of concern, though not immensely unstable. A number of issues are just minor inconveniences, and by all means not entirely things that we haven't seen before or had to deal with previously. Though it will be interesting to see when this hits the live universe and what the overall experience is going to end up being. That about wraps it up for this week though, and I hope you have all found the information useful. Don't forget to get your entries in for the YouTube exclusive giveaway of a Logitech X52 Hotas. Just subscribe here and leave a comment on any video and you'll automatically be entered. Also head over to Twitch where you can catch the stream every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and also get entered into our Twitch exclusive giveaway of a Razer Nari Ultimate headset with haptic feedback. All you have to do is follow on Twitch, you'll automatically be entered into that giveaway, and both prizes will be drawn on May 1st. So keep an eye out on your Twitch whispers as well as your YouTube notifications. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out the Patreon, merch store, or even just hit the join button above and become a member for as little as 99 cents per month. I appreciate all the support, and it's what allows us to continue the giveaways for the community. I personally want to thank everybody for checking out the video, and I hope everyone's being safe out there, and we will catch you next time.